Hi, welcome back to Technically Speaking, and the numbers are alarming. I'll just throw you one. According to WMO, you know, that Meteorological Association, and now that we are in December, if you want to know banjir or not, flooding or not, you have to look at kaji cuaca. You have to look at people who have the authority and the expertise to look at the sky and know whether it's going to flood anywhere. So WMO looks at all these things and more, and as a world body, they have given out that from January to September 2024 this year, the average increase of global warming is 1.54 degrees Celsius. Now the target is 2, but you also have to look at it over a long period. But I don't want to go into that today, but why this is important, because one of the ways that the humankind is going to survive is by using technology and adaptation. Who better to talk about technology and adaptation if you are leading an outfit called Green Tech Ideas Lab? You must be doing something good with green and with tech. So I would like to welcome Madam Alina Jani, the CEO of Green Tech Ideas Lab, which is under MGTC, Malaysia Green Tech Corporation, and under a cool ministry called NRES. I'll let you do the honors of explaining all that. I'm not good at explaining things, but I am good at asking questions. So before you even explain, I just want to ask the question of the elephant in the room. Are we going to survive climate change and global warming from your point of view? Without being technical.
Okay.
In Malay, plain, kedai mama English.
In my honest opinion, I've personally been doing this advocacy and awareness for the past 9 years already. If every one of us are not doing anything, no, we won't be able to survive climate change.
Because I remember you saying, because I stalked you on video online, and you're part of the view that the next generation will feel the brunt of it.
Yes.
But they're not going to be able to do as much as our right now generation can do.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so if the tipping point is in our hand, how do you think tech figures into it? Because sometimes when we say tech, people straight away think, oh, technology is expensive.
Yeah.
But when you talk about existential threat, ancaman yang boleh menghapuskan kemanusiaan manusiawi, then you think that, hey, let's make the tech work for us. And no better example than Elon Musk saying that I want to go to Mars. I don't want my rocket to be pakai dan buang, single-use rockets. So usually when you send a spacecraft to beat the gravity pull, there's a lot of long rockets.
Yes.
And then the rocket will fall off, and then the spacecraft will go. But I think if you haven't been seeing it, you haven't been on social media. So you see the rocket coming back to the launching pad.
Yes.
I guess that really exemplifies the kind of technology that mankind can come up with to save ourselves.
So I think there's two school of thought. Okay, so the first school of thought is all about good old mankind effort. Let's clean the beach and then also clean the rivers, do gotong royong.
Low tech and analog lah.
Yes. Versus a more sustainable and long-term solution, which is technology. So for example, looking at daily effort, or maybe like a group effort that does every Saturday cleaning the river, might as well deploy a green technology solution that is there 24/7, collects, for example, debris or waste from the river, and then that debris or waste is then be utilized. Maybe there's resource recovery that can be done, or circular economy that can be done. So that's where technology adoption is something that is a long-term and sustainable solution to address the challenges that we face in climate change.
I'm going to go to a smaller elephant, because usually when people talk about government machinery, people don't equate it to high technology, speed, or efficiency. It's like a big oil tanker in the ocean. The speedboat, you know, the hovercraft can be wow like that,
Yeah, yeah.
navigating. But tanker needs maybe a few hours just to turn.
Yeah.
So what would you say to the younger generation if they have that perception, and if mainly in this country, R&D, research and development, comes from things, institutions, researchers empowered by the government sector, then what hope is there for us? Because it's not going to be fast.
Yeah.
It's not going to be market driven, and it's not going to be timely.
So, in this particular space of this question, when you talk about climate change in particular, and coming back to the initiatives that we do to accelerate net zero initiatives, you know what we call it, right? It's every one of us are Khalifah or inhabitants of this planet. So we must not be sentimental as to where the technology is coming. Is the most important part is actually awareness to adopt technologies. So this is why a lot of our initiatives, for example, promoting investments, establishing green standards for green products and all that, we are not sentimental as to, championing local innovation versus an international technology, for example. Actually, it must be married together to accelerate adoption. But what this does is that it sort of creates this level of competition, a sense of competition. International technologies are coming into Malaysia. As it is, we are the third largest net importer anyway, in all different types of sectors. But in terms of climate change, the beauty of it is that international technologies does accelerate adoption for low carbon initiatives taking place in Majlis Perbandaran or municipalities and all that. But what it does is that this accelerated projects, scale-ups and also feasibility studies that are being done in Malaysia, it opens up the eyes of local innovators, local SMEs, local startup companies, that they see that, okay, these technologies are not that difficult, but how can it be localized? There is a need to localize.
I'll circle back to that, but I want to tap into your vast experience and wisdom. You've been doing this for a long time. What's the best high technology for green tech that amazed you until now, and you really want to see it happening in our parts of the world?
I think there's two actually that's very innovative, and it's very much something that's very practical, a lot of common sense. People keep talking about Elon Musk, but I feel that the best technologies actually come from basic common sense. So number one, the technology that is very good that I've seen and I've also nurtured, the biogas technology. Simple. They take manure from livestock farms. The solid manure can be converted and repurposed to become fertilizers, and then after that, this liquid waste is repurposed to become biogas, bottled, and then be given back to farmers to utilize. It's full circular economy. It addresses sustainable waste management. It provides clean energy, and at the same time, it's simple.
Okay, I wanted to circle back, but now I'm circling to another area. Sometimes, if you look at green tech on its own, then you won't see the 360. Because you just mentioned the term circular economy. Circular economy is not about technology. It's about an approach and mindset, a philosophy that if we live it, we have very small footprint of anything. Because there won't be a packaging to throw away. Food would nearly be reused, and there will be hardly anything going to the landfill, right? So what I'm trying to say, map that onto my question earlier. If you only look at the government being the biggest body bringing in green technology and climate change adaptation, then we're not seeing everything. What we should be seeing is, especially this current government, the way I translate Madani into our conversation is, it must be inclusive. Just like COVID, we learned that we are only as strong as one person or the last person. So for climate change, it's the same. If everyone in that particular kejiranan or condominium save electricity and water, but in one house it's just running 24 hours, the tap is not turned off, it's just flowing to the drain, then there'll be leakages.
Yes, that's
So
correct.
how do you look at that? Because I know you could have gone to the private sector with your skills, your experience, but you choose to be in the cool name institution called Green Tech Ideas Lab. So answer that by also introducing us, what does Green Tech Idea Lab do?
Yeah.
The people in there, what do they do?
Yeah.
Because there's no digital footprint that I can stalk you with.
Thank you for noticing that. We've been very good. So I think to answer your question, I think any government, regardless of Malaysian government or even other countries, what do you call it? The noble notion is there to actually come up with initiatives that is for the betterment of the country. So we have 31 ministries. We can see a lot of good that's coming out. Perhaps there's challenges on the ground and all that, but the idea is that yes, I was in the private sector previously, but I've been working in government agencies for now, I think 16, 17 years already. I think the real drive or the real passion is that you know that you're not working for a bottom line. You're not working for a company's or a organization's bottom line. You're working for your country, your countrymen. So the area that we focus on is very much looking at people always macam kecam or say bad things about investments and all that, right? But actually investments are the ones that driving the economy, opening up new job opportunities, contributing to the national GDP. So that's why the Madani government in particular always talking about investments. So when you're pushing on that notion, with investments it will come technology transfer, knowledge transfer.
Your Green Tech Corporation looks directly at green tech
Green
investment, right?
investments, yeah, that's correct. So for Green Tech Ideas Lab, being under Malaysian Green Technology and Climate Change Corporation, MGTC, they are the federal government agency under NRES. So as a federal government agency, they have mandates for green growth, climate change adaptation, as well as green lifestyle. So they are tied with the very lean team that they have. But under Green Tech Ideas Lab, what we do is we take the strategic thrust number one from the National Green Technology Policy. We drive advocacy, we drive promotion and awareness. So we take away that bit to actually drive out the outreach to the
I'm
people.
going to pitch it in front of the audience. We at MIND are trying to bring up more literacy and awareness of high tech and tech. So why don't the pillar for this kind of podcast for green tech, we just give it to Ideas Lab?
I mean, we're
Sounds
open to
good, right?
collaborate
Sounds good,
with
right?
Mike.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't commit
definitely.
now, but I'm just putting it out there. Full transparency. Okay, on that note,
Yeah.
since you have brought out the heavy guns of trust number one and everything else,
yes.
I'm not very good with roadmaps and policy, but I'm more interested in how they translate. So, but I do want to allude to one thing. When I look at the targets for 2050, which we've already mapped out by
Yeah.
experts like you and otherwise, green mobility.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the easiest low-hanging fruit when you want to talk about green tech to the masses.
True.
People can see the Tesla on the road,
Yes.
the BYDs, even in mine, I can see electric cars being charged. So before I go to the technology aspect, I just want to ask you from a social media point of view. There's a debate raging about greenwashing. You want to go 80% of people using vehicles in 2050 are going to use electric vehicles. Do you know that this green vehicle battery component is key, and the minerals that we have to dug up from Mother Earth just to build a battery, isn't that also contributing to destroying sustainability? So you are the best person to answer this once and for all for this podcast.
So I think what do you call this? In the space of mobility and transport, it's the second contributing factor to the emitting
What comes
highest
out from the
emitting.
exhaust, right?
Yes, that's correct. So for the electric vehicles, for example, right, looking at the minerals, the silica, and then also the other lithium ion that's being utilized, and all the minerals. In any sector anyway, minerals are being utilized. E&E, semiconductor. The mining sector is still very much thriving in the world. So EV and battery, and that battery as part of the component of the EV is also one of the beneficiary or user from the mining sector. So for the non-EV subscribers or non-believers, of course, they're going to blame it in that path. But in any way, minerals are being used in many industries as it is. But it's just that the minerals being utilized in the EV business, it is pushing towards a more cleaner emitting versions for mobility and transport.
Let me come to it from a kedai kopi perspective. Yes, we know that mining also is not 100% green, definitely. But the devil that we already know is every day, every second, there are combustion happening in many engines around the world, and the product of that combustion are the greenhouse gases, which are very toxic even to the lungs, not to mention the ozone layer, and we have to address that first. If you have dug something out, cobalt or whatever, it doesn't directly go to the ozone and destroy it, right? So sometimes the argument on social media can be zero-sum game, but I think we have cleared it here at least. Deal with the fire now.
Yes.
Then maybe rapid R&D can see less minerals being needed to store electrons or whatever that keeps the energy in storage, right?
That's correct.
Can I put it that way for now?
Yes, definitely.
Before we have you joining the Tech TV kind of podcast and taking charge of the green pillar.
Okay. But even, for example, the mining sector, for example, they are also doing a lot of green initiatives in mining. So, for example, in December 2022, our minister and MGTC launched 7 green practice guidelines. One of the guidelines is for the mining sector. So what we did was that we looked towards the mining companies of the world. So, for example, Sandvik from Sweden. Look at the best practices from the mining sector, and then how can we then emulate those in Malaysia? So it's greening both sides.
The issue then is not just that. Maybe it's about transparency. I mean, any mining, petroleum, rare earth, is a very well guarded industry.
Yes.
People, laymen like me, wouldn't be able, even as journalists, there's many things that we cannot assess. But because the planet is now going to be on fire, maybe the transparency can be opened up a bit so that people can see. I can't blame the people out there if they look at this from the war between America and China, because rare earth is one of... When Trump said things and stopped things, China has already retaliated. And a few minerals has already been banned by China from being exported to America. So when you go to social media and you get all this, it's already in the partisan adversarial mode. So that's why we invited you today, partly, so that you clear it out a bit. Malaysia is looking at rare earth, right? And because you guys look at green mobility, you do have a say and a partake in the future of mining of rare earths in the country. Can I put it that way?
Well, we are part of the discussions, but we're not the decision makers. But ultimately also looking at one of the good things that's coming from the need to report. So for example, you've got the ESG reporting that's being put as compulsory right now, sustainability reporting. I think one of the good things that come from the need to report is also about decreasing transparency. So this is where, European Union started it first. If you don't report your scope 1 and scope 2 emissions, we will kenakan you carbon tax. So this is where exporters are now struggling to go into Europe because they need to learn how to do scope 1 and scope 2 emissions reporting. So in a way, it's good in a sense that this transparency would also allow the layman, journalists, and also any citizens of the world to actually be able to access and understand more, increase in literacy and awareness.
Shouldn't our young be talking about ESG, all these things that we're talking about in school? Because if you have started a company, then only you want to talk, hey, how do I meet ESG? That's not what it's supposed to be like. What it's supposed to be like, from the day I decided to do something, I'm already thinking about Mother Earth. I'm already thinking about sustainability.
Yeah.
The laws are just there to ensure compliance. But the desire
Yes.
must be in. Sometimes people feel that in Malaysia we go the horse before the car kind of thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
What's your take on that?
So I think in any matter, I think the first thing is actually to start from young. Like you mentioned what I've said before, right? The next generation is the next generation to feel the brunt of it, the brunt of climate change. Education should start from young. So I give, for example, Japan. Japan has started sustainability education in their kindergarten 40 years ago. So those kindergarteners, 40 years now, they are 40-year-old adults. They have lived 40 years of sustainability. So this is where education must start from young. Our younger generation must learn about climate change and also sustainability, what they can do for their part, but also the need to understand that this will be the next career options for them as well. Yeah.
You know, I've enticed the audience of this podcast a bit by saying green mobility and cars and Tesla and BYD. So let me entice them a bit more. Price is also a factor that your institution look at.
Yeah.
Because if you want more than 80% drivers using electric vehicles in 2050, they've got to be able to afford it. Surprise, surprise, right now, we don't really have a local manufacturer made in Malaysia kind of electric vehicles. And I'm old enough to remember going to the old Proton and looking at Proton Emas. E was supposed to be for electricity, electric vehicle, but that didn't pan out. So my question to you, for the benefit of the audience, can you give us a sneak peek on how pricing is going to be like for electric vehicle? Because we do know, even for the ICE, for the combustion engine, it's the government taxation of imported cars and components that influence greatly the price and affordability of cars. People say, hey, when I bought a Beamer in Germany when I was studying, it's way cheaper than the
Yes, yes.
How is that going to be for electric vehicles?
Yeah. So, not going to jumpstart.
Just a sneak peek.
Yeah, not to provide any sneak peek, but just await some news that's coming up next week. I think in terms of the pricing, it's also a chicken and egg situation. So that's part of the reason why we are promoting a lot of FDI. That's actually to come to do local manufacturing in Malaysia. So for example, the first start that we've done is that, for example, Volvo. They have their plant in Shah Alam for so many decades already. So what they have done is that they have done CBD and also CKD for the XC90 that they have done for plug-in hybrid. A lot of the companies, they started with plug-in hybrid electric vehicle first, and then now you're starting to see a lot more that's coming in for energy efficient vehicles, but then moving into electric vehicles as well. The idea is that if we can bring in FDI into Malaysia, they do local manufacturing in Malaysia, automatically it brings the price down. That will be affordable to the rakyat to buy electric vehicles. That's number one. But at the same time as well, there must be demand from our local industry as well as our local citizens to demand for electric vehicles to entice the interest.
How is it now? How do you see it? Because you've been looking at this. Do you think that the demand from Malaysians for electric vehicles are there?
I think from July 2025 onwards, there will be demand. There's that rationalization of subsidies for petrol. Diesel have already started. So I think that will definitely create a demand. But at the same time, also awareness in the younger buyers. A lot of the younger consumers are demanding to look into that as well.
Okay, let me reverse the question. If Ideas Lab and MGTC can be the sole decider of policy on electric vehicles for Malaysia, what would it be? In an ideal world, what would it be?
Yeah.
Would it be just bring in, lower the price, and then we build capacity? Or how would it be? What kind of theoretical approach or ideology that you would subscribe to?
So I think in green tech, for example, in green technology, there are certain technologies that are very novel. It started from foundation research, and then they're very novel. But most of it, and especially in engineering space, it's very much improvement on previous patents or previous trade secrets or know-how.
You would say a smaller, cheaper battery would be what? Not novel, right?
Yeah, actually it's an improvisation of the previous models, for example. So the idea is that bringing in external technologies or international technologies into Malaysia can speed up the learning curve for the local innovators or even the local manufacturers, but at the same time it also allows a lot more enhancement and localization, which is what we need in terms of sustainability. So I think in an ideal world, definitely looking as Malaysia as the hub to attract, manufacturing of battery, of circular economy in terms of the body of the electric vehicle, for example, but thus working closely together with local universities and local manufacturers to speed up some local models as well to come up.
Coming from somebody who went to Junker to give literacy and awareness about green tech. Okay, I don't want to talk to you as CEO anymore, because when I stalk you online, so happen this is social media, I do know that you hang out with friends in KLCC area and stuff like that. And you in your own family, you have to answer to the younger Malaysian. Of course, they are your biggest critics sometimes. They can be so. So how do you answer this when people say, electric vehicle, charging station also got a few, when you have the data and you see it long term, the policy. So how will you answer that as a mother or as a wife or as an auntie or whatever, not as a CEO? Because this chatter exists in the country.
Yes. So I think what do you call it? When we talk about eco driving, for example, and also electric vehicle driving, right? It's a different mindset from normal ICE vehicle driving, Like ICE vehicle driving, you can go out, your car totally dah kuning, the tank is yellow, but you can isi minyak somewhere, you can fill up somewhere, right? Eco driving is about control driving. It's not about speeding. We are not petrol heads. That's number one. So the first mindset is eco driving. The second part of eco driving is also planning your travels. So when you are an eco driver, you will always look, my battery, now it's at 100%, but if I go to Bangi, and then that will be, taking up a lot of the percentage of the battery, right? So where can I charge after that? Oh, that office actually have a charging station, so I can charge there. So this is where it's a change of mindset. It's not just about, you need to have it where and where you're going.
Not just changing the vehicle.
Yes, it's not only the vehicle, but also a change of mindset. You become a better driver, number one, not the typical petrol heads that keep on tekan gas je, but also you are becoming a better traveler as well.
Okay, got it. However, infra does matter, infrastructure.
Yes.
What is the doable scenario within the short to medium term? Would there, on the Plies Highway, for every 50 kilometer or 100 kilometer be electric? I don't know. I'm sure you guys have discussed this.
Yeah. So currently, right now, we are over 2,000 already charging points all over Malaysia. All over Malaysia. It's in parallel that's happening right now. The need to do sustainability reporting and ESG reporting are also pushing and accelerating site owners to also volunteer their site for charging stations. That's number one. Number two, there's also a steady growth of charging station companies or charge point operators, they call it CPOs.
So it's a business.
So it's a viable business already right now. So there's a lot more that's growing now. We've got Gentari, we've got TNB Electron, our own brand Charge EV with Yinsen, we have Jom Charge Now. So there's so many that's coming up right now. So being a viable business as well. So now we're starting to see the organic growth of the installation of charging points.
I wish we could go on forever, but time is always limited. But I cannot let you go before. I still want to peek into the future. So sometimes, like you said, we have to change our mindset. We've got to be ready. And the World Economic Forum, whatever, they keep on saying like top 50 jobs you have now would really be different in even 5 years' time.
Yes, that's correct.
Many of it will be gone.
Yes.
So using that perspective, why are we even thinking about electricity? Maybe it's going to be green hydrogen. Maybe it's going to be, I don't know, powered by the sun directly. Do you see, because now with the new chip, there's a chip race, NVIDIA,
Yeah.
Microsoft, computing power quadrillion, whatever. So it's qubits now, not 1010
Yes.
anymore. So the pace of technological acceleration is going to be way faster than
Yes.
ever.
Yes.
Maybe the target we set for 2050 was based on, a few years ago when computing power was at A. Computing power is going to be closer to G. Do you think, this is just hypothetically speaking, even electric is not going to be in green mobility by 2050? There's a strong possibility of that.
Yeah. So when you talk about how fast technology is evolving, that is also how fast climate change is evolving.
Okay.
So like you mentioned just now, we're already past 1.54 degrees, right? There's extrapolations that show that, we are going to pass that barrier of 2 degrees already. So as fast as technology is accelerating, that is also as fast climate change is accelerating. So there is an urgent need to actually accelerate technology advancements in order for us to address climate change issues and concerns. So for example, if electric vehicles go out in the next 5 years, there's going to be something else that's going to replace that. It's going to be hydrogen, battery swapping, energy storage on the go. We have no idea. But the idea is that we should nurture that. We should nurture that notion. There's like, even in Islam, right? There's nothing that is yours. Everything is being borrowed from God, right? So in climate change, it's the same. There's no point in being sentimental to holding on to one particular technology when there's another technology that might come that actually can advance net zero initiatives and adoption. Yeah, so that's my view on that matter. Yeah.
Thank you so much for making time.
Sure.
And it's sustainable because, that green certified building where Green Tech Ideas Lab is in Bangi, not too far away from Mike Partnership Hub in Cyberjaya. So thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
I'll catch up with you on whether we can really partner to bring advocacy, literacy and awareness of technology, high technology, including green technology, because you won't change your mindset if your discourse remains the same. We need new information, new analysis, new data, and this is the age of AI. We'll see you, technically speaking, very, very soon for another episode. Thank you and goodbye.